And good morning, everybody. I'm Adam Gordon, and with me is my colleague,
Fred Cohen. And
Fred.
by the way, it's not morning everywhere.
It's not morning everywhere, but it is here. So, you know, what can I say?
Well, what you can say is that you're the broad, generic, easygoing type, and I'm the insane person who always finds flaw with everything.
Well, the only difference actually might be, Fred, is that you say it and I don't. I think I
Well, so
probably notice a lot of the
so
stuff that you
so I'm unable to fake good cop, and you are able to fake good cop.
do. Yes. Well, as you've told me before, once you can fake sincerity, everything's easy.
No, I didn't say that. I said once you can fake sincerity, you've really got it made. And it's not my quote originally.
Ah,
I
okay.
stole it from somebody else, but I was trying to be sincere when I said it. So what can I say?
Of course.
So what is the
So
topic that you've decided we're going to discuss today without revealing it to me in advance?
yes, that's correct. And what we're going to do is, obviously, I don't want to ignore what's topical right now, which is, of course, the fact that we've all been hunkered down for a number of weeks and things seem to be working, but nobody knows what the future looks like.
Oh,
So,
yeah, no, wait, come on. You must know there are all sorts of people that know what the future looks like.
well, they think they do.
All right, I'm going to
There are
predict the
certainly all
future.
sorts of people.
I'm going to predict the future during this call,
Okay.
and you will see that I'm able to successfully predict the future. So I want you to focus, concentrate on the computer.
Okay.
Look very closely at the middle of that swirling ones and zeros,
Right.
and our hero hacker, and concentrate on the future. Concentrate on tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, the sun will come up. Okay, that's my prediction.
There you
And
go.
now we'll see. Tomorrow morning, we'll see if I've predicted the future successfully.
You know who you sound like is
Me.
George Carlin.
Well,
Remember
no.
George
George
Carlin?
Carlin has a complete. No, he says he's talking about the weather. He's the hippy dippy weatherman with the hippy
Right.
dippy
This
weather, man.
forecast for tonight,
Dark,
dark.
dark, followed by light tomorrow,
Right.
and then dark tomorrow night.
Very good. Very good. You got the reference. That's an extra 10
Yeah,
points,
but he
Fred.
is the best
Congratulations.
forecaster. He's 100% right in his forecast so far. So in terms of weather, you can't do any better than that. All right. So you
So
had the subject.
the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is, as everybody is prognosticating, and we all know the famous quote that prediction is hard, especially about the future. That was Yogi Berra, I
Just to
think.
be clear, I am not prognosticating. I am amateur gnosticating.
Amateur. Okay, very good.
Yeah. I'm
And
not a pro at gnosticating. I'm just an amateur.
well, you might be a pro at gnosticating, actually. You may be one of those people who are. As a matter of fact, of the people I know, you might want to be one of the few ones who are actually good Gnostics. So, but we'll leave that out for the moment.
I don't prognosticate. I do analysis, and I identify trends and a basis for the belief that the future is bounded by these particular principles. So it's not a prognostication, it's an estimate, right? Or there's another word for it that we use in the financial world, right?
Projection?
A projection. Oh, that's an interesting name. What do we call it? Yeah, projection. That's it.
Or a
Correct.
forecast. Sure. But it's all prognostication. It's all predicting the future.
Oh, well, when you know, so prognostication, definitionally, I don't think that means predicting the future, does it?
I think it does. Yeah. I'm quite positive about that, actually.
Prognostication. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm an internet guy, right? Did I
You
mean
are, and
prognostication? Sure, I did. The action of
you're gonna
foretelling
argue with
or
your writer.
prophesying. The action of foretelling or prophesying future events. An unprecedented amount of soul searching and prognostication. A prophecy. Usually it's gloomy. Ooh, God.
So,
And proved to
Fred,
be unfounded.
I
Okay,
would
great.
never argue with you about anything about cybersecurity. Please be sure that your writer friend knows what his words mean.
Well, I just look it up. I mean, you were wrong on that pandemic thing when we looked it up. So we looked at prognostication. It looks like you're right.
Well, yeah, nobody bats 1,000. That's true. It's true.
Well, I'm
So
sorry.
I
When you say
wanted to
nobody bats 1,000, I think there was one guy in the baseball, in professional baseball, that was up for bat once and got a hit. So, and everybody that has to hit the first time they're up has a 1,000 average until they bat
Well,
again.
the implication in that, and that's right, you're right, but the implication in that is that that's an overtime spread of data.
Well, right. The key here is that a stopwatch is right twice a day, right?
Right.
Now,
Well,
people that are used to analog watches understand that, but digital people maybe not. And by
yeah,
the way, a watch that is properly working is maybe never right.
yes. Well, again, like a tree falling in the forest, does it make a noise? It depends on your definition of sound. It depends on how you're defining right in this case.
Right. I mean, precisely accurate in every way.
Right.
So
Okay.
the point
So
about a moving
yes.
clock is it's never quite, well, the nature of time, of course, is that time actually changes across the space of the watch. So but if it's stopped,
You'd have to have
then
an
that
awfully
time does
sensitive
pass.
watch to realize that, though.
You could travel really quickly or something. All right. So eventually we're going to get to the
Okay.
point of the
So,
conversation. We're only
which
9 minutes.
is, I wanted to spend just a few minutes, and I don't want to do all the whole session on this, but just a little bit about what we see, what you and I see as the likely future of just, let's not call it the global society for the moment. Let's just focus on the United States. What do you think when the pandemic slows down and we have herd immunity, 50% of the population is immune, and what do you think life is going to look like then?
Okay. So I don't necessarily think that it's a right that we're ever going to achieve what you call herd immunity. And the problem is that the virus, what we call the virus, is
Mhm.
actually a family, a class, a set of evolving biological entities.
Mhm.
And so um, we may or may not become relatively immune to some subset of that family. And of course, different people will potentially become immune to different subsets of that family. But there's no reason to believe that we will ever, in fact, be immune any more than we're immune to the common cold.
Well, okay, true, and most, at least
So, so,
25%
so in
people.
answer to your prediction question,
Yeah.
um, by the time the coronavirus is dead in human beings, all the human beings will be dead. So my prediction is that the Earth will fall into the sun.
Okay, so let's make the question a little bit more precise, because I know that helps. So when we reach a point where people are comfortably going out again, and restaurants and bars and liquor stores and all that stuff are
Well, in
open.
truth, Adam, I was really never that comfortable going out to bars and liquor stores and restaurants. I never really liked it. So I suspect that the answer is never again, just as it was never before.
Well, that's for you. I'm asking about society in general, though.
Well, but there
What
are
do you
people
think
right now
is
that are still comfortable going out to bars and restaurants.
what's that?
There are people today who are still comfortable going out to bars and restaurants.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, what's
I'm
the
not
issue?
afraid. I don't want to
Well, I'm
screw
I'm
anybody
not
else up,
afraid.
but I'm not afraid
Yeah.
myself.
So it's not about being afraid. It's about public health. You don't stay indoors to keep yourself from getting sick unless you're just a selfish person. You're staying socially distanced, yes, because it helps you, but also because it prevents the spread of the pandemic, which means you're helping the rest of society not have a pandemic. You're denying food to the virus
Right.
by staying separated, right?
Okay.
It's about the virus, that life form and the society of the virus, those life forms that you're trying to kill by starving them.
Well, that brings up the whole topic of whether viruses are actually life forms, but I think that's too philosophical for our discussion. So let's just make it a little bit simpler. So when things get generally back to whatever the new normal is going to be, what do you think the new normal is going to look like? What do you think, say, life looks like in September here in Monterey?
Oh no, September, you're way too soon.
Still too soon. So
Way,
how about
way.
this? How about Christmas?
No, no. So look at the analog to 1918, 1920, and into 21, right? So what we're doing now, as a society, is slowing the rate of infection to a level where we won't overwhelm the medical system.
Hmm.
And that's important for a couple of reasons. One of them is because we don't have enough supplies, you're getting more doctors and nurses and other healthcare professionals sick, and they're dying and being unable to act because they're sick, even if they survive. But the other part of it is, even if the medical system was working ideally at full throttle, it can only handle so many people on so many ventilators at a time.
Hmm.
And the excess people that need a ventilator and don't get one die. So the idea is to save lives by, bending the curve, so to speak, so that the peak is not above our capacity to serve.
Hmm.
Right. So, but what that does simultaneously is it stretches the thing out over time. Right. Because a
Right.
pandemic, everybody's, it's going to come by everywhere.
Right.
So,
Well, it's what I
so
said a couple of weeks ago. Eventually, corona is just going to be in the environment everywhere, and we'll have herd immunity or not.
or not. Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, right now, what is it? Something like 1% is the current guess at the percentage of people that die, right? Maybe it's 5%, something like that, need hospital care,
Well,
right?
that's, but however, the one
Oh, hang on.
caveat I have
What
to
I was
put
going
to
to say
any of
is
that, hold on,
95%,
hold on. Now,
95%
the one
die.
caveat I have to put to any of those numbers is we don't know what the denominator is yet. We don't know how many people have actually been infected. So all of those rates are just guesses.
Right. So again, right, that there are places where they have done enough measurement to do better, but the point really is that 95% of everybody, will either not get too sick or get sick and get better,
Right.
right?
Right.
So after enough of the population that's susceptible dies, and assuming the thing doesn't evolve to the point where it's a different bunch, then yeah, it'll be over. But if you look at the disparity among who's dying, right? You're talking about a severe change in the nature of the demographics of the population, and other related issues, right? So it's like 6 times or 7, something like that, times more prevalent in the African American community, and they die at a higher rate.
Hmm.
But really, what happens is you get cures and other treatments that reduce the rate of death, and then eventually you hope you get immunization.
Right.
um, and but again, we don't know. And if you look at SARS and these other related viruses, they're pretty darn deadly. I mean, unless you kill it off, it's going to kill you.
Yeah.
So the and by the way, this is very closely related to computer viruses, right?
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
when we
They
looked at
follow
computer
the same
virus theory,
math.
we looked at biological virus theory, and that's how we understood it. And it's the same thing in a lot of senses in terms of the mathematical model. Um, so, it's not, um, who knows for sure, but, it seems awfully likely that the solution is to get rid of it like we got rid of smallpox, get serious about public health,
Hmm.
which is to say, you detect every incident by really good testing, right? So you have good detection and rapid response and limitation of the spread by isolation. So
Hmm.
now the in some cases the problem is for a lot of these airborne things, if you cough, somebody comes by a week later in some cases and breathes the air, they'll still get it,
Hmm.
right? So polio, I think, was one of those examples. So what you have to do is find every case and stop it and disinfect as much as you can, and then keep testing around, test around until you have a high level of certainty that nobody else has it, or if they do, that you isolate them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you do that until you kill the thing. The problem is we bypass that by failing to act adequately initially. So we're too late. So now we're in this ridiculous mode of, try not to kill everybody off right away. And we'll see.
Yeah. It's amazes me the kinds of, well, I don't want to get political here, so I won't go down that route. But yeah, I mean, I think eventually if we agree that the virus is going to get everywhere, then, the people who are going to die from it eventually are going to die from it. All we're trying to do is keep them from doing it all at once.
No, we're trying to, just because the virus gets there doesn't mean that the same people that would die of it today are going to die of it then. Because we can use immunization, to stop it from infecting those people, even though it's present in the environment. And we can have cures that cure or otherwise mitigate it so that those people don't die. So stretching it out over time gives the medical research and development process time to find better defenses and win that battle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not right that everybody that's going to die is going to die, right? And so that's thing one. Thing two is more people die sooner if it overwhelms the medical system, which is and by the way, that's what Great Britain notionally tried, right? Until the prime minister got it, at which point they changed their attitude,
Nice of them.
Well, no, he changed his attitude.
Yes.
I suspect. And I certainly hope he doesn't die of it,
Yes. Well, we don't wish that anybody dies, of course.
Well, so that's an interesting question, right? So this gets back to, so if you traveled back in time when Hitler was a painter, would you have killed him then? Knowing what you know now.
Time travel questions.
Yep.
That's something else entirely.
Well, right, if you're not going to invoke time travel, then, how are you ever going to know in the future whether this was actually what I said now or whether somebody not to mention the deep fake issue.
I love the enigmas you get in time travel conversations.
I don't, because traveling forward in time we're doing all the time, and traveling backward in time, you forget it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think so. But it's always an interesting topic, though. Actually, Stephen King wrote one of the better time travel books that I've read. Stephen King doing sci-fi. And it was just great. It's called 1962. It's about the assassination of Kennedy. And it's, I rarely talk up Stephen King, especially because he doesn't need me talking him up. But that's one of his better ones, I have to say. And so taking this back a little bit into cybersecurity, one of the things that I was looking at today was how companies are responding to this. And as a consultant to those companies, what kind of advice do we think what type of advice, obviously we try not to give advice away for free on the show, but what type of advice do we think are the right kinds of things that companies might be doing that, are trying to react to this and either not have their business collapse, or because they are offering a valuable widget in this environment, dealing with incredible business growth. So obviously those are two different parts of the spectrum, but in general, what do we think is the right kind of response for a cybersecurity business to react to this virus?
Cybersecurity, how should cybersecurity react to the virus?
Yeah.
Don't act as if somehow you know something you don't know. Start there, okay? So, and don't like try to claim, somehow that, oh, wait, this will save you. or, oh, because you're now working from home, you need to buy my new shoelace. Okay,
Oh,
so
there's a lot
whatever
of
the
that
thing
going
is.
around.
Right. It's about the bullshit. There's a couple of things that are going to happen. One of them is at some point in time, people are going to look back at what you said and say, you lying scum.
Mm-hmm.
That's part one. Part two, at some point in time, they're going to say, why did you bother me again and again with all your repetitious crap and asking me if I'm okay when you haven't talked to me in the last 5 years? You're not my friend, you're my business associate. And if you were my friend, where were you for the last 5 years? So, taking advantage of people when they're in dire circumstances is something we generally don't like in society.
Yes.
So, how about if you not worry so much about whether you can make some more money right now and find people who you can really help. So I'll give you an example. One of my companies um, has works for a company with a very close relationship to Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
They've had that relationship over many years. And Zoom has done a stand down for new changes to try and clear up various security issues. And I'm sure they must have a lot of them or they wouldn't be doing that. So, what I said is, well, you have a close relationship. You should offer our assistance. We can help them do this.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever the deal is to help them do that. I'm not in charge of the financial part of the deal, but people do have to get paid for what they do. And Zoom just got in, probably hundreds of millions or more dollars from all their new customers.
Yeah.
So it's probably a good time for them to spend some money on doing a good job of cybersecurity and not just momentarily, but planning for the future. So there's an opportunity where an existing close relationship on a reasoned, friendly, rational, not overpriced basis can be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you offer the assistance, but that's it. You don't push it. You don't say, you don't try and scare them into it. Right?
Well,
So,
yes, indeed. We are not big believers on using fear as a tactic for sales in general.
well, but it's about a relationship, right?
Yes.
If you're
Yes.
building and sustaining a long-term relationship with an associate or an affiliate or a business partner, whatever it is, customer, friend, that relationship is something you've built over time and it should exist and you're continuing to build over time. And if you're helpful, you're helpful. And if you can't be helpful, then you shouldn't be pestering. But always for a friend, you should be willing to say, I hope everything's going okay. By the way, Adam, I hope everything's going okay. Is everything going okay?
Everything is going as okay as it can, Fred. How about for you?
Well, it's fine, right? So obviously, the business world is changing. It turns out that I'm well positioned for that, but it's really sort of sad to see all of the bad things in the world that are being taken advantage of. I mean, the fraudsters, and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So from time to time, I find myself unhappy with just seeing these bad people in the world doing bad things. And I talk about it in social media. Like now is not the time to go trying to interfere, do denial of services attack when medical people are trying to have communications over that medium to try to save, your life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay if you're an asshole most of the time, but don't be an asshole now. And if you are, you should be tossed away in a jail where there's a lot of coronavirus cases. To be tried after the end of the pandemic, right?
Right.
So I have feelings about it, and those feelings come out, right? And obviously, watching all the excess number of people dying for no good reason, and watching the disinformation campaigns and their effect on human lives, it's horrible, right?
It is. It
So
is.
that's so I'm doing okay, but I'm just and I also wish that I could do more to help. But I do what I can do and offer what I can offer, but I don't, I'm not a medical professional. I can't go out and save people's lives that way. And I'm probably more of a negative than a positive if I go out into the world and try to physically help. And informationally, there's not that much I can do against the enormous volume of stuff out there. So it's a complicated answer, and now we're getting up on a half hour.
Yeah. And well, the other part of that, I think, is there's the general kind of environment that just adds to. I mean, clearly the government and the press are creating enough fear by themselves, and then for other people to just add to that, it creates a very uncomfortable environment for people. And when people are in an environment like that, they tend not to spend money, they tend not to invest, they tend not to do business, and it really does create a huge barrier to doing all of the stuff we consider to be normal.
Right?
Yeah. So I guess I'm violently agreeing with you.
Oh, no, you're kidding me. You're agreeing with me?
I am. Yes,
Maybe
I
I do have coronavirus. I feel like as if I'm, having delusional fantasies.
I don't think delusions are part of the coronavirus symptoms.
Oh, so you haven't seen Chris Cuomo talking about no, serious. He has the virus and he's at home and he's talking about these, he's seeing his father at the end of the bed as if he was actually there when he's, long dead, and these sorts of things. Apparently, you do get hallucinations.
I think maybe Chris is dabbling in some extracurricular activities there.
Well, I don't know. I'm only telling you what they reported on air.
Okay. Well, he might be the only person in the world reporting hallucinations due to corona. But who knows? They say they don't quite understand it yet, and they realize that there are a lot of different effects based on your genetics and overall metabolism and things like that. It's a very smart virus.
I think it's related to the high fever.
Ah, that could be. Okay. Well, on that cheery note, we've come to a half hour. And while we didn't get into the cybersecurity issues that I was hoping to talk about today, we did have some interesting conversation about Corona. And, I think we both agree it's very unsettling, and it's very disheartening to see people taking advantage of other people at this kinds of time.
Yes, I would rather not have it.
Yeah. So I'm going to self-promote here for a second. I'm putting up a website. It's going to be very simple. It's called Enlightenment Advocates. And all I am asking people to do is show a slide when they do presentations for 10 seconds. And all that slide is going to say is, today, please be kind first.
Please be what?
Be kind first.
Be kind first.
Right.
Then you can be cruel. How about just be kind?
Well, the idea is that the first thing, your first reaction to somebody, not internally, you may react however, but your first reaction to somebody should always have kindness involved in it. That's what, that's what I believe the world needs.
What the world needs now
is kindness, sweet kindness.
On that calm note, I want to thank you all for joining us in today's call.
That's right.
Are we out of here or what? You're going to still keep recording?
We are about to be out of here. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Okay, I'm going to have lunch.
You go have lunch.